If you have ADHD and you've ever dipped your toe into content creation and immediately felt overwhelmed, or maybe it was writing a book or building a business or working on a project that you've been meaning to finish, sometimes that seems simple until you sit down and realize there are about 15 different steps between where you are and where you want to be. So I'm going to use content creation as an example in this video. So I've posted content every day for over a year while working on multiple books, projects, and a bunch of other ideas. And one of the questions I get all the time is, how do you stay consistent with ADHD? And that answer actually, when I thought about it, it kind of surprised me because it's not about discipline. It's not about motivation. It's not even medication, although sometimes medication absolutely helps me focus. The real answer is that I built a workflow that works with how my ADHD brain actually functions instead of fighting against it. And today I wanted to walk you through that system. I use the same process for when I'm on projects or managing multiple other ideas at the same time. If you stick around until the end, I've made a worksheet and an infographic available as a free download so you can build your own version of this. So let's start with the mistake I think a lot of people make. Most people think content creation looks like this. You got an idea, you write a script, you record it, you edit it, and you upload it. And technically that is true, but if you have ADHD and try to do all of those things every single time you sit down to work, you're basically building yourself a burnout machine. Because every one of those steps is a different job. They're all different skills. And they require different mental states and a different kind of energy. And some days I don't have all of those versions of myself available. Some days I have writing energy, some days it's editing energy. And some days I'm not feeling well and I don't want to be on camera. And that's okay. The breakthrough for me was realizing that every stage needed a little home. Not a vague place, not I'll hope I'll remember it, but an actual home to live. A place where that part of the work lives. So this is what my workflow looks like, more or less. Ideas go into my notes app. When I'm done writing my scripts, they go right into the teleprompter app. And then raw footage after I'm done recording goes into a specific folder. And then edited videos go into a folder that says to post. And then I publish them, of course. It's kind of simple, but there are 3 ADHD challenges that this system actually helps solve. And the first one is working memory. So let's start there. Working memory is kind of like carrying a bucket full of water. Everything you're trying to remember is in that bucket. The ideas you had this morning, the thing that you need to do tomorrow, the project you're working on right now. These are all things that you're trying to not forget. And if you're carrying around a bucket all day, you're spending a lot of energy trying not to spill it. You're not actually using the bucket. You're just carrying around a bucket. And that's what happens when I keep ideas in my head. I'm not creating anymore. I'm just spending energy trying not to lose the ideas. And if you've experienced that, you know this is exhausting and unproductive. The breakthrough was realizing that I needed a trusted place to put things. So if I get an idea out of my head into a trusted system, I don't have to carry it anymore. Now that mental space becomes available again, and my brain can go back to doing what it's actually good at. Making connections, playing with ideas, and experimenting. Basically, creating. And that's why my first rule of my workflow is pretty simple. Get it out of your head. The second thing this workflow helps me with is the switching cost. This is something that I don't think people talk enough about. Imagine you're writing and you're focused and you're building an idea. And then you stop and start recording. And now you're performing. And then you stop and start editing. And now you're making technical decisions. And then you stop and you have to publish and you have to write the description. Those are completely different jobs. And every time you switch between them, your brain has to change gears. And changing gears costs energy. And a lot of ADHD people think that they're bad at productivity. And sometimes it's just exhaustion from switching modes all day. This is why I like using and creating in batches. So one day I'll do all my writing, one day I'll do all the recording, one day I'll edit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but the less switching I do, the more energy I have left for actual creating. And here's the part that I think matters most. Every stage has to have that off-ramp. Most productivity advice teaches people how to start. Some productivity advice teaches people how to finish, but almost nobody teaches people how to stop in the middle. But if you have ADHD, stopping safely is critical. Because look, life happens, meetings happen, you might have a thing with the kid, your energy is going to change. So instead of trying to drive the whole highway every time, I build exits. I capture the ideas. I store it. I write the script and I store it. I record the footage and I store it. So now I can leave that and come back later and nothing is lost. And I think that's the real power of a system like this where you've figured out the workflow. And it actually has led to one of the biggest things that I've learned. Consistency does not mean doing the same thing every day. I think a lot of us accidentally believe that. We think consistency means waking up every morning and following the exact same process. I don't know about you, but that has never worked for me. What works for me is consistent output. The path changes, the destination doesn't. So some days I write, some days I edit, some days I'll brainstorm, and some days I record. The audience sees the video. They don't see whether I wrote it 3 weeks ago or recorded it yesterday, or maybe I'm not even online and I scheduled it 3 days ago. The output is consistent. The workflow is completely flexible. And that's the goal. So your goal is to create a system that allows you to be flexible, to chase novelty, and to find the things where you're consistently outputting something, but your day-to-day work is different. Now, let's talk about novelty, because ADHD brains love novelty. Sometimes I have an idea and I immediately know, oh, we're going to drop everything and do that today. And on those days, I absolutely chase that novelty. I'll brainstorm it, I'll write it, I'll go through the whole production in one day. And that's great. And I love those days. They're fantastic. But those days are not predictable. They're just sort of like a bonus. I don't strategize and rely on being able to do that every day. You can't build your entire workflow around hoping hyperfocus shows up exactly when you need it. What you can do is build a system that works whether novelty shows up or not. Because maybe today you just want to go on a walk while you brainstorm ideas. Great, you're doing something along the line. So you are being productive that day. Maybe another day, you just want to sit down on the couch and edit a bunch of videos. Cool. Maybe you've got a bunch of ideas that you're like, I just want to get these scripts done. And you have the motivation to write the scripts. That's great. Do it that day. You keep moving the project forward. The goal isn't to force yourself through every stage every day. The goal is to use your energy you have to move the thing forward. And once you start doing that, something interesting happens. You start trusting the system. And at first, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to feel like you're leaving things unfinished. You're going to feel like you're supposed to do more. But over time, you start to see the system actually works. You know that when you capture an idea, you can come back to it later. And once you realize that nothing is getting lost, the work is moving forward even when you aren't doing everything at once. So this morning is a great example. So before lunch, I had already worked on content ideas. I had done some work on a game project. I had written and edited parts of the book. I built an infograph and I captured ideas for future videos. None of those things were finished. And that's not the point. The point was that every one of them moved something forward. Every one of them had a place to live when I was done working on it. Nothing had to stay in my head. So future Ryan will be able to find it. So like right now, I'm recording this video, right? So I know and I'm aware that future Ryan at some point will edit this video. Like I'm a completely different person. Editor Ryan will edit this video. I hope he does a good job. What do you think, Editor Ryan? Are you enjoying yourself? You could say it there. If you remember nothing else from this video, remember these 3 things. Get the information out of your head. Reduce unnecessary switching and build a system that works even when your motivation changes. That's really what this workflow is doing. It's not about forcing yourself to work harder. It's about building a system that works with your brain instead of fighting it. So if you'd like a copy of a worksheet and an infograph I've made, I have these available for free. You can print it out, you can fill them in, and you can build your own version. And if this was helpful, please let me know. And I'd love to turn this into a series. I'd love to hear what you're trying to stay consistent with, because the goal isn't to finish everything today. The goal is to never lose the momentum. Please follow and subscribe, and let me know if you like this, and we'll keep making more of this.